welcome to another edition of Asian Founders and Funders. I'm Marc Kramer. I'm the host of the show, and I'm also a senior lecturer of entrepreneurship at Vinh University. We're thrilled to have today Stanley Chia, Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Cialfo. Stanley, welcome.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me.
So Stanley, let's start off with you just telling us a little bit about your professional background. Before you started this, co-founded this company, tell us about your background.
Thanks so much, Mark. So I started fresh out of college, so I never really worked for anyone. But prior to graduation, I studied accounting in NTU, Nanyang Technological University in Singapore.
Very nice. And
Yeah.
why did you all start this company? And it's a huge success already. I mean, when you see that you're already in 50 countries and like 1,000 high schools are using it, it's really quite a success story.
Yeah. Why did I start the company?
Yeah, why did the three of you start this company?
Yeah. So fresh out of college, me and my co-founder had this idea of solving a problem of helping youths basically find their career and academic aspirations and directions. We ourselves never had a school counselor in our own high schools, and so we never had a benefit of someone giving us the kind of guidance to where we should study, the opportunities out there. And so we wanted to build a platform to solve that problem. So me and Rohan, the CEO of our company right now, one of my co-founders, first started actually an offline counseling business. And then we were quite successful. And then 6 years into the business, we then sold it off to a PE firm, and then reinvested all the money into this technology business. And that's where our third co-founder joined us then, William, who is American Australian, who now lead the product and tech directions for the company. Yeah.
And so what did you see as the big problem that needed solving here?
So we felt that like in this 21st century, like information should be freely available. Students or youths who have the desire to pursue their ambition should have the resources on hand. Having said that, we realize that it is not always that easy. Education as an industry is very slow to change. A lot of universities have like redundant or outdated information on their websites. All the different universities in different countries have different applications, processes, requirements are often sometimes difficult to understand or find relating to a specific local curriculum or academic curriculum. So we wanted to basically build a single standardized platform where information is standardized, is easy to find, is accurate, is reliable, and also a way for students to understand if I want to apply to US or UK, what's the process like? And nowadays students apply to multiple destinations. They don't apply just to the US or just to the UK. They want to apply to everywhere in the world that give them the opportunity to succeed. So we wanted to make it easy for students to pursue their aspirations. And that's the initial impetus. Yeah.
How did you research this to find out that somebody would actually pay for this? Because there are so many great ideas, and even very smart, logical people think they have a great idea, and it might even be solving a problem. I've done it myself, where nobody really wants to pay to have the problem solved.
So to be honest, yeah, so we did a lot of research initially and on the market size, on the opportunity of the industry, and it didn't give us very conclusive evidence that this is a market that we will make a lot of money, or be able to make it hugely successful. Hence we first started with the offline counseling business. We knew the market was big, but like it's a question of like which segment do you tackle, and then how big is the TAM, right? The total addressable market. So our first initial start was really in the offline counseling business. So we were helping students offline, charging families like $10,000 to $20,000 a year to assist them in applying to the top universities. But that experience of that 6 years through providing this service actually helped us to expand our worldview of the industry and what solutions we can provide. So eventually we understood the industry a bit more. We understood that universities have different ways of managing their budget in recruitment, marketing, and so right now with the technology side of the business, we are not just providing a platform to high schools, we're also providing solutions to universities and basically taking a pie of the the revenue from marketing and from other sources where universities were willing to pay to basically market themselves to students. Yeah.
So you're not only helping students
Get
pick
into
the
universities.
countries they want to go to and the
Yeah.
universities they want to go to, but you looked on the other side where that's a shrinking market for universities, and now they have to do some significant outbound
Yeah.
marketing in
Yeah.
order for them to get the kind of students that they want to go and get. So now you're helping both sides.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. And this is an interesting market because universities are, have like traditionally relied a lot on the Chinese market to finance their international cohort. But there is, since COVID and post-COVID, there has been a lot of shifts in terms of where students are coming from. So being a multi-source, we call it multi-source, multi-destination company, because Cialfo has such a huge, diverse reach of students, we become increasingly interesting for universities to work with because we know the different markets and they can work with us instead of having to work with hundreds of partners globally. Yeah.
So when you were starting the idea, did you guys write a business plan and create a financial model and determine that this had some potential before you moved forward?
Yeah, definitely. So from day one, actually, before like when we were building the technology platform, we had a 3-step plan. And during execution, of course, you have to pivot here and there, and things do change. But yeah, we definitely did that. Yeah.
And what's it like to work with 3 founders? I mean, many entrepreneurs have one partner. A lot of entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
like myself, I've done 29 ventures and I had partners in 5 of them, but the rest I just did solely.
Mm,
What's the best parts of having partners, and what's the most challenging part of having partners?
right. This is a good question. Yeah, this actually Cialfo has been my like arguably second venture. My first venture, I had 5 partners. That didn't work so well. So the perils of having too many partners would be that then the interests and the desire for success, accountability for success gets spread out a little bit more. So the more partners you have, the more challenging or problematic that would be. I think 3 co-founders had been a good dynamics for us. Um, so when you have less co-founders, then all decision making and accountability falls on a fewer people, right? And those people would typically be more driven for success. By having more co-founder, you have more people who are willing to take out the load, don't behave like a typical employee, and basically push the limits for the company in different areas, right? So that's the advantage. But the disadvantage is that sometimes we have to at times argue, debate, and or align ourselves in terms of the ideas and directions that we have. And then I think most importantly is the accountability that we each all need to have to make sure that we succeed in our areas or for the company to be successful. Yeah.
Is it good that you have 3 co-founders because of settling an issue? Because I've worked with many entrepreneurs and especially
Mm.
Partnerships, just 2 partners. And when they're at loggerheads and they can't agree, that becomes a real problem.
Yeah. So in our dynamics, it's pretty simple because although we had 3 co-founders, Rohan, the CEO, is the CEO. So we have an agreement that even if we disagree, we agree to disagree, and we can still move on as long as we have clear directions of the strategy. And typically that final decision comes down to Rohan. Having said that, we need to curate a healthy environment and culture for us to disagree, right? Whenever we feel strongly about what like the decision being made. Yeah.
It appears that all three of you come from three different types of cultures.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
how does that play into how the work dynamic between the three of you?
Yeah. Although we're from three different cultures, I think we are all very minded. We have a similar mindset in terms of like how we want to be successful and being very open about like diverse culture in the company. So William, he's American Australian, but he is married to a Malaysian Chinese. So he himself is exposed to a lot of culture. He grew up as a third culture kid. Rohan is Indian, but he studied in Singapore. While I'm the only one who like born bred in Singapore, but I traveled quite a bit, so quite internationally minded. So from day one, actually, our company was very international. I think to I don't have the numbers to date, but like I think today we have in the company we have represent at least I think 30 or 40 nationalities. So it's extremely diverse. The advantage, of course, naturally, is that we have very different background and experience that we contribute to the company, and we are just very open, and as we step into different markets and different countries that we work with, it gives us the edge because we are always very willing to learn. We are very quick to adapt to different cultures of countries we work with. In the last 6 weeks, I've been in different countries and cities every week, and so we are very dynamic and we can work with anyone. And our clients really respect us for being able to assimilate, to the different local cultures. Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, what do you like most about being an entrepreneur, and what are the greatest challenges of being an entrepreneur that until you become one, you really don't fully grasp it?
So the greatest advantage is that you design your destiny. Like everything that you do contributes to your personal aspiration and your personal success. Like everything you do. If you decide not to work over a weekend, you decide to rest, you do it for yourself and for your company, right? Like if you decide to work as additional hard, you're also doing it for your company. So everything that you decide to do in the balance of your work or your life, your family, all contributes to your personal success in a very close way. So while I know that a lot of employees, some of my peers and friends who work for companies, they don't see it the same way. They see there's this gap between the company and themselves. They're two different things. So I think that's the biggest advantage. Like I feel like you are basically contributing to your personal aspiration, your design, your desires, your ambition. The downside relates to that would be that like typically you take on a lot of risk, you take on a lot of stress and pressure, a lot of decisions that you make about who to employ, who to let go, which clients to work with, which partners to work with, rest on your shoulders. You can't outsource that decision, even if let's say you hire someone to make that decision for you, you know that ultimately you're the one who would benefit and you're the one to suffer. So there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, right? So if you're someone who can't make decisions or bear the consequence of decisions, entrepreneurship is definitely not for you. You need to be someone who really dares to make decisions that you will not regret. Like even if it's a wrong decision, you have to learn fast and to overcome it. Yeah.
When everybody goes through cold streaks, doesn't matter what the business is, and how do you handle when things aren't going well? How do you and your partners manage to not only your own mental mindset, but all the people who are counting on you because they can't watch you panic or look like you're in distress?
Hmm. Yeah, so it happens very often. And I think the most important attitude to take on would be like firstly, there are big problems and there are small problems. When it comes to tactical small problems, the most important attitude to take on is let's solve this problem together. And rather than jumping into the issue and then pinpointing whose fault it is as the first reaction, jumping into the issue whenever I'm involved, and guiding the team towards a solution and having strict timelines, having the urgency to solve the problem quickly. That's how I read. I don't point fingers as the first thing, right? After the issue is resolved, we can reflect on why this problem has occurred. Like how do we, make sure that it doesn't happen again? Whose issue? Who caused it? Was it a competency issue or was it a system issue? And then how do we make sure that it doesn't happen again? When it comes to bigger, like strategic mistakes or challenges or issues, I think the most important thing that we sometimes reflect is, do we know what caused that problem? What caused that failure to succeed, like failure to meet the expectations? I think the most important thing for us to understand and reflect is, do we understand what happened in the first place? Because a lot of times, sometimes when something happened, you jump into solutions, you try to, you're reactive and you're not strategic. And if you don't think on the macro, sometimes you end up spinning in circles and still eventually meeting the same problems. And so it's also quite important to at times just ask ourselves, do we know what's the issue? Do we know what's the problem? And then trying to address it. Yeah.
How does innovation work in your company? And do you encourage all of your employees to innovate, whether it's new products, services, or efficiencies?
Yeah. So on the day-to-day, I mean, there are different leaders in the company with different styles. For myself, I tend to always try to get my team to answer or ask questions and to provide their inputs. So even if I know the answers, at times I will ask them questions to make sure that they are thinking about the problem and not always the solution comes from me. In a lot of Asian contexts, you will have employees who are waiting for solutions, waiting for the boss to make the decisions. So I try to challenge them by not purposely not giving the decision or giving the answer right off. I will ask them what their opinion is, to force them to think. Because even if I provide a solution, I want them to own the execution of the solution. Then on the technology and innovation front, we run hackathons actually in the company to get team members across the different departments to work together and think about how the product can solve more problems which we might have not thought about. So and we have a judging panel with senior executives, and for those ideas that are really good, we will immediately set them into action. So I think that's a really good thing that we are doing year on year. Yeah.
How did you guys fund this company? Was it your own personal money, or did you get friends and family? And have you raised venture capital since? So tell us about your funding journey and what that's been like.
So we first started with so we sold the technology arm of Cialfo, like the last 6-7 years. We sold the offline business and then we reinvested everything into technology. That initial investment was more self-funded with some private VCs funding. Then on our Series A and eventually Series B, yeah, it's venture back with some growth capital. So the last B round, we raised about 60 million at around a $250 million valuation. Yeah.
Did you say 60 million or 16 million?
60 million in the Series B round. Yeah.
60.
60. Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. That was about
At
2 years ago. Yeah.
at $1 billion valuation.
Quarter billion, like
Quarter
250
billion.
plus minus. Yeah. I can't give the exact number, but yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, where does AI, how are you using AI?
Right. So the technology, the engineering department implements AI into some of the solutions that we have in the platform, including things like how to recommend universities to students, or the search engine process. We embed the NLP in the search process in terms of how students search. So we want to make it more natural in terms of students asking questions or about like universities. And then within the company, we have like encouraged our own team members to use AI. So the marketing team is using AI to build posters, to build campaigns. We get our finance teams to use AI to learn how to even send emails to clients in a more polite ways. I personally have also done a lot of research into AI. So we have not exactly gone into building solutions right away sometimes into the platform, because building takes a lot of effort and investment. So rather than right off building a lot of solutions, I have invested a lot of effort into how AI can be used in the context of a school counselor serving students, supporting students in terms of personal statements to recommendation letters, writing to interview questions and different workflow or tasks that counselors have to do. And so with my personal investment in that effort, we have recently built an AI prompt library for counselors. So we share it openly for counselors to use it. A prompt library essentially means like an AI prompt that counselors can use. And we even give like examples and samples so that counselors can basically experiment with the tool. So we really want to encourage the whole education industry in my sector to adopt AI positively. And hence, I've been doing a lot of webinars. I've been investing my own effort to learn it and sharing these resources to the community. Yeah.
How do you market to colleges on one end to get them to hire you to market them? And how do you market to the high schools to get them to use your product? So, what's your strategy and what marketing tactics do you use and that you found work the best? And what really hasn't worked?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of context on what worked, what not, right? But for us, what has worked so thus far, we invest a lot into the community. So we have identified specific communities in both the university side and the counselor side, where there's annual conferences, a lot, not just once a year, but there are different conferences where a lot of these professionals will gather. So we have constantly participated in these communities, sponsored ourselves, being there in person, speak in events, and also curate our own community in different countries. So for example, the Vietnamese counseling community or the Indonesian counseling community or Singapore counseling community are all very different and separate. And we embed ourselves into those communities by being sponsors, speakers, friends to the key opinion leaders in these communities. So we in some ways I call this KOL marketing. We also run campaigns, email campaigns, and different kind of campaigns through emails and whatnot. So that is in terms of like marketing. In terms of like what has not succeed as much, I would definitely love to have more inbound marketing, but we are B2B business, so we have not seen a lot of inbound marketing success as much. But perhaps again, because it's B2B, so it's not like B2C where people would often Google it or search for something. Often our clients would have heard from someone else, another school, another university that have worked with us, or in an event before they know about Cialfo. Yeah.
Many entrepreneurs, when I'm writing business plans for them, because I've run 29 ventures, but I've written a lot of plans for other people. And many times the entrepreneurs don't have a client retention strategy. Clearly, you guys must have a good one because you're so successful. What is your client retention strategy and what tactics do you use to keep people engaged with you?
Right. So I think there are a few layers. So on the most basic layer, we have a client experience manager team. We call it CXMs. In some geographies, we call them client partners. But their main objective is to track the engagement of our users on the platform. That's number one. And if they are engaged, they're using different features, great. So we have designed like a score in terms of their usage, in terms of like best practice and best usage. And then if let's say the engagement falls short, there are trigger points on where they have to engage the clients to either ask them, how we can help them solve problems, and what problems they want to solve. And if we have basically created like benefits for them. So every customer should have an obvious delight that they have when using Cialfo, or they are uncovering the value that we provide when we promise those values on our marketing. Like brochures. A lot of times, a lot of companies will provide a lot of solutions, market them, but it's very unclear about whether customers are uncovering these benefits. And so if your customers are not uncovering the benefits, they naturally will churn later on. And then on a higher level, we engage our customers, especially those who are ambitious, those who wants to be out there positioned as like experts and professionals in our own events, webinars, and everything. So we engage the KOLs again in the activities that we do, and we work with them sometimes actively to refer more clients, sometimes in community events, or curation of like content. So we engage them in different ways. But I think most importantly is to be very conscious about whether your customers are uncovering value from your product and what value are they uncovering. Is that value something very superficial or something very like a commodity kind of like solution, right? So if it's commodity, then you end up just fighting over price. Like there's no way for you to differentiate yourself. But if you're providing solutions that really makes a big difference in their lives, how they describe it, if they have a love for it, then you know that it's sticky. Yeah.
Awesome. What kind
Yeah.
of people did you hire in the beginning of the company, and has the profile of the kind of person you're looking for now to work in your company different than when you started?
Yeah. We have some people around that are still the same, but initially we preferred people who are able to do many different things, like generalists. They are very curious to do many different things, and they're very excited. They give a lot of ideas and solutions. They can work long hours and whatnot. In recent years, we have develop, because like, as the company gets bigger, you will have more specialist roles. So we are looking at people who have more experience in certain roles that they play. Sometimes generalists are still required, but as we become more departmentalized and whatnot, you want people who have certain skill sets to play those roles. Yeah, but on early days when the team is small, like 10, 15 people, we would like someone who can both be a marketer, also a salesperson, also a customer success person. So one person do multiple roles, right? But eventually you have to start specializing. Yeah.
When you are looking at people and you realize these are not the right kind of people for our
Mm,
kind of business,
mm.
how do you evaluate that? Like they might have great resumes or whatever, but what do you look for when you're looking at hiring people?
So Cialfo actually has what we call a Cialfo manifesto. It's on our website. It covers the values and principles of the company. So we are we do write them out quite extensively about what we expect. But some of the most important values and principles would be like first principles thinking, being ethical. So those are very important to our company, building successful communities, championing students. So these are some of my favorites. So number one, first principles is really important because we want people to think from first principles. We don't want people just to follow, clueless about why they do certain things. We want them to keep evaluating what's best for the company, what's best for the team. Ethics is very important in education. You can't have people saying the wrong things, or telling lies, blatant lies. For us, ethics and trust from students, from counselors, from university reps is really important. So we hold that as high regard. Whenever we have any people who demonstrate they can't do any of this, those are the big deal breakers. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
On the sales side, what kind of salespeople do you look for? And when you're interviewing them, what's the most important qualities good salespeople have?
So different companies we'll hire different kind of salespeople. For B2B sales, typically you want people who can sell, we call that solution selling or consultative sales. So people who are not outright like a car salesman, buy, and then I'll rent off all the benefits of my product. We want someone who are able to first ask questions about the needs of the clients and then bring out the value propositions that can solve those problems. So we call it consultative sales. So yeah, because with that, then the clients will trust you more. Because typically in the B2B sales process, there's a journey that you have to bring a client through. Yeah.
When you're doing projections, do you do projections just 1 year out, 3, 5 years out? How far out do you do projections and find them to be accurate?
Our finance team will do projections 3 to even 5 years out. And then for the purpose of budget and short-term financial sustainability, we do 1 year. So that's what the finance team does. Like, but they do especially the 1 year ones. They do it much closer with the operations and business teams. So we actually look at past financial history. We look at our expectations. So when it comes to accuracy, if there is past history in a product or service, then it will be more accurate. But if it's something new, typically we see bigger gaps in terms of what we would forecast and what we expect. Yeah.
Going forward over the next 3 to 5 years, do you think that at some point you might have to bring in what venture capitalists see as professional management, or that you think the three of you grown because you got 250 employees? It's not a small business
100,
anymore.
150 right now, 150.
Oh,
Yeah.
150 employees.
Yeah.
It's not a small business. Do you think, the three of you see yourselves growing to as leaders and being able to stay with it until it gets to 500, 1,000 employees, something along those lines? And how are you, do you each have coaches yourself to help you grow as professionals?
Yeah. So yes, on a lot of these fronts, and know a bit on some. So we actually hired a few professional managers along this last 2 years journey. Some didn't work out. And I think the most important thing we have learned through the journey is we want senior executives and leaders who are really willing to get their hands dirty, and like if you are leading sales and revenue, you have to meet the clients, you have to visit the clients in the different countries. We don't want people just sitting in HQ and put lines on the drawing board. We want people who actually are close to the ground. And I think over the years we hired some, and then we decided to now be shrink or be more concise in terms of our senior executive. One of the key reasons is that we want people who really have first principle thinking and have a deep desire for the company to be very, very successful, to the extent that we believe that this is our life, the company is our life. So I think at this stage where we are still trying to really push for growth and push for success, this is what's required. I think if it ever comes to a point where we hiring professional managers because we need to take a step back, I think we will still really care a lot about like whether the people we hire have that kind of mindset same as us. Yeah, because the biggest issue that we have is like we don't want to hire people just because they seem to be qualified, but they have no desire for the success of the company or alignment with the mission or vision. We are not just a company to make money. We have a mission that is aligned a lot on the vision that we have for the impact that we want to create for this industry. And so it's still pretty early, I would say. And yeah, and if we ever come to point again, like we will have to find people who have alignment with the vision, which I think, I don't know, like when we get there, we'll know whether it's easy or difficult to find people like that. Yeah.
Do you have an advisory board or a board of directors?
Yes, so we have a board of directors, which consists of our most important, like our investors who have taken a significant amount of shares in the company, and we meet once a quarter, or Rohan engages them more beyond the once a quarter cadence, to set directions for the company. Yeah.
And going forward now, I'm just wondering, have you read business books, and have you had any books that you might recommend to entrepreneurs to read, and books, podcast, anything?
Yeah, in my early days of startup, I have read more books on like business modeling to um I think there was Defining Happiness or Delivering Happiness was a great one. Um and I think 0 to 1. So those were the early books. Right now, one of the most important podcasts that every entrepreneur should definitely watch is All In on YouTube, or they also have a podcast channel. It's a must watch, must watch. These folks that does that podcast are very close to the valley and whatever is happening in terms of the biggest trends in startup. So it's definitely a must watch. Yeah,
And it's called All In.
All In. Yeah,
Great. Well,
yeah.
I want to say that it's been a pleasure interviewing you. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
It's going to be interesting to see over the next few years, as there's a lot of consolidation, at least in the American market, for universities, where it's almost like an acquisition is happening, and a shrinking market for lots of things, not just the universities themselves, but even the programs. Many schools are doing away with MBAs
Mm,
because they can't do enough.
mm.
So it'll be interesting to follow your story over the next few years, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.